The Xbox 360 will be 19 years old this November, which makes a large portion of the most popular 360 games considered almost retro as they're nearing 20 years old. And when I was growing up, the retro games were Tetris, Space Invaders, Pac-Man. I never thought the day would come that Halo 3, COD 4, Bioshock, Assassin's Creed, GTA 4, and so many other great Xbox 360 era titles would ever be considered retro games, but we're coming up on it pretty quickly. And with the Xbox 360 store closing back in July this year, I thought now would be a perfect time to take a look back and celebrate the console, because in 2024, playing a 360 is still a great option. It really is console gaming at its absolute finest. Now, growing up in the early 2000s, I played games on every major system out at the time. Nintendo 64 Mario Kart with the boys, GameCube Smash Bros. Melee with the boys, PlayStation 1 Madden 02 with the boys, and PlayStation 2 Battlefront with, you guessed it, the boys. These are consoles with games and memories I'll always remember, but the Xbox 360 is still my absolute favorite console to this day. I believe this generation is when AAA studios were at their peak, cranking out high quality games on the regular, all putting out their best games in order to compete for gamers' time. Studios couldn't rely on microtransactions to sustain a studio. They instead had to release a good game fairly often in order to make a profit. Game critics used to be a bit more honest back in the day too, and a bad review on their website or their magazine meant your game probably wasn't going to sell well. And word of mouth was still very important to get your game talked about with young teens. Like the games everyone at school talked about were usually the best games out at the time. And honestly, a lot of those games are still much better than most AAA games released in the last 10 years. I mean, you had the Bioshock trilogy, the Ezio trilogy, the Mass Effect trilogy, Dragon Age, Fallout 3 in New Vegas, Halo, Gears of War, Call of Duty, so many franchises that had banger after banger release. A lot of which have since been remastered in collections in recent years because, again, even 15 years later, they're the best in the industry. So probably the biggest reason to own a 360 in 2024 is the amazing game catalog on the console. And along with the best games, you're going to likely be able to find the best prices for those games. Bundles of games sold for dirt cheap on marketplaces or eBay. Hell, a couple of years ago I bought another 360 for $100 and the guy threw in over 20 games on top of it. And the best part is, I went home, popped in one of the discs, and started playing. No need to download or install the disc, be worried about storage space on the console, no. I just sat down, popped in the disc, and played the game. What a concept. It really is something you just have to appreciate because you can't do that with modern gaming. Even for single-player RPGs, there's the overbloated install size and overbloated patch to download after that, and oh my god, it just gets exhausting. There's just something special about plug-and-play gaming. There was rarely a time to worry about having a game installed because physical media was the primary source of games back then. You had a stack of games next to your console, that's your library, you could just swap them at any time. Man, I miss physical media. Now that being said, there were some games relegated to download only on 360, like the Xbox Live Arcade titles. These were games that were between $5 and $20 that were usually smaller, more indie type games or just small studio releases. And even big studios would release smaller scale versions of their game, like Battlefield 1943, which was a very basic bare bones World War II Battlefield game made on the Bad Company 1 Frostbite engine. And a lot of these games were actually pretty popular, especially Battlefield 1943. And if you were around back in the 360's prime, I'm sure you'll remember some of these names. Castle Crashers, Geometry Wars, Peggle, Trials HD, Happy Wars, Toy Soldiers. I mean, I could list so many more great arcade games. Even Blood Dragon was on here. The Xbox Live Arcade truly had some serious gems. A lot of ports from older consoles were also available on the arcade, like the old Doom games, Call of Duty Classic, tons of actual old arcade games like Galaga, Pac-Man, things like that. And usually all they cost were a few bucks. These two games right here though, might be my favorites from the entire Xbox Live Arcade library. Toy Soldiers Cold War, a badass tower defense game themed with all sorts of Vietnam and Cold War era weapons, environments, and characters. I played hundreds of hours of this game trying to survive to high rounds on the endless wave defense mode. This shit was actually crazy. Call of War as Gunslinger, probably the most underrated Western in gaming. A cel-shaded art style, gory and over-the-top violence, impactful shooting mechanics, and a hilariously entertaining story. And it may be too late to buy these games on the 360, but if you're able to find a way to play them, I highly recommend doing so. But you know what else really slaps about the 360? Split screen. Like every game had split screen on this thing. Racing games, shooting games, ARPGs, puzzle games, almost everything had split screen other than maybe a big single player RPG. And it's crazy and kind of sad that the 360 console generation really was the last generation of split screen being a priority. Once we hit the PS4 and Xbox One, split screen had almost entirely been abandoned. Even Halo, it was abandoned. Obviously there were a few games that supported it, but it was a fraction of a percentage of the ones on PS3 and 360. And I don't know about you guys, but the split screen gaming sessions still go hard in current year. There's just a different type of energy and excitement when you and your buddies are all gathered around the screen competing in a Halo game. Just a few years ago we had friends bring over another 360 and we played 8-player LAN matches, 4v4 with each team using their own screen via split screen. It's just an absolute blast to experience gaming that way. And not that you need any more convincing, I know you're all lining up to buy your 360s immediately after you finish this video, but let's recap the reasons why you need to go do that right now. The game catalog is insane. Truly the greatest era of AAA masterpieces. I mean, just look at the amount of incredible games released this generation. And with digital media doing a lot of shady practices these days, like removing games you own from your digital library, there's no better way to ensure you'll be able to play these games forever than getting them physically for the console they released on originally. The price. You can get a 360 for dirt cheap these days, and stacks of games for cheap as well. You just gotta do some searching online. Xbox Live Arcade. While you can no longer buy a lot of these games, if you did own any of these games, you can still reinstall them on your system and play them forever. So many hidden gems. Again, the Xbox Live Arcade, rest in peace, I love you, I miss you. And lastly, split screen, couch co-op, couch competitive tournaments, some of the best ways to play video games, and the Xbox 360 supports split screen on the vast majority of the games. Now for a bonus, there's some pretty cool ways to mod these consoles nowadays also. You can get a lot of great games and access to some awesome cheats for offline play. You can look into that in several other videos on YouTube. But that'll about do it for this video. I've just been playing my 360 a lot lately and wanted to talk about why it's still such a great console. But let me know what you guys think, and let me know some of your favorite games and memories from the 360, and especially the Xbox Live Arcade. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you all in the next one.